Hello, and welcome to the Knit Girls. This is episode 488. I'm Laura, also known as Lala.
I am Leslie, also known as You Don't Call Me Les. Today is Tuesday, June the 9th, 2020. So we're done with the first week of June already. It's both dragged and just whizzed by. Like the past 3 months of.
I would agree with that.
I feel like I've blinked, and here we are.
But at the same time, like when you're in the space, it seems like it's taking forever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Longest shortest months ever?
Yeah, it's a weird kind of mind expletive.
Yeah, that's going on right now. Awesome. So I am in the middle of a row. We're going to talk about some knitting and some other things. Are you in a space where you can share?
I'm just going round and round and round and round.
Would you mind sharing first?
I unfortunately there's not a lot that's exciting and new for me.
There's not for
either. So the first thing that I'm working on, let me put my project bag down, and now it's hard to find. So this is an old knit spin farm.
Oh, when she used to make bags.
And this is the Hasukai cow. And let me get the pattern.
Oh, that's one that you've been working on for a while, correct?
Just, off and on. So it's just a long tube, basically, that's sort of offset in angles with sort of a flared edge. And I'm just knitting around and around. It's garter stitch in the round, so it's knit one row, purl one row, repeat till you're, sick to death of it. And this is Brooklyn Tweed's Plains.
Plains.
Yeah, it was the first lace weight that Brooklyn Tweed did, I believe. And this is in the Treehouse colorway. This was where I was when I picked it up. So I've got about 5 inches done this week. I've just been knitting sort of off and on in between bouts of knitting on my other project. And the other project is one you are sick of seeing, but it is living in.
I think it's super pretty. I'm not sick of seeing it.
Red waxed canvas hide and hammer bag that I love lots. It was a gift from Amy of Stranded. So this is the Starboard Rock. That's the name of the pattern. And Starboard Rock is it's a bottom up. It's sort of like a cross between a boxy by Hohi Locatelli and Weekender by Andrea Mowry. It's in fingering weight. I'm knitting it out of Stranded Dye Works in the Merino
Ice Skating Party
base in the Ice Skating Party colorway. So I was on, this is the back, and I was somewhere in this never-ending rib. The last time
it's like a broken rib, right?
Yeah, it is. I think I was here. No, I was here. So maybe 2 inches with shaping for the back of the neck and the shoulders. So the back, after the split, you did like 2.5 inches of stockinette and then like 5.5 inches of this broken rib before any shaping. And then on the front, and I'm alternating every 2 rows.
With the yarn, just to make sure that it's not pooling and that the color is staying the same. And those are
slightly lighter than the other, but with the alternating, you can't tell.
So is that your first 2 skeins?
No.
Okay.
Second 2 skeins. And I've got one more.
So skeins 3 and 4.
Yeah, actually, I think I might have 2 more.
I think you have 2 more.
So now I'm on the front, and I put a marker So the front is different. The front you do from the arm divide, you do 5 inches of stockinette, and then you do like 2 inches of the broken rib before you immediately like divide, because the front is a lower scoop neck than the back. So there's only a little bit of that texture ribbing in the center, and then there's more on the sides up for the shoulders. So from this marker that I put on last night, I've got another inch to go of the stockinette, and then I start the broken rib. So it is possible that the next time you see this, the body will be done. The sleeves are another
So,
matter.
what's the plan for the sleeves?
I don't know yet. I mean, as written, I actually haven't read the pattern that far because I never do, because I'm going to screw it up regardless of the pattern. So,
It's like do what I say, not as I do. Like you should
very
always
much.
read ahead in your
Absolutely.
patterns.
And every designer will tell you that. Read the entire pattern before you start.
I mean, it's super helpful.
I never do. Not because I think I'm better, or that I've done this for so long that I don't need to. I just don't. I just don't.
So
If it's a
funny.
really unusual construction, I might, just to sort of understand what parts I'm doing and where they would go. But aside from that, no, I figure I'll see it when I see it. Yeah. So after I finish the front, I assume that I bind them together up on the top of the shoulder on either side, and then pick up and knit down. That's probably the way that it's written. I don't know if I'll knit them separately and then attach them or not. Probably that's what I'll do, but I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
How long do you want these sleeves to be?
I don't even know how long the pattern calls for yet. Like I said, I
Like,
haven't.
but are you
They'll be yeah, full length.
okay? That's where
They'll
I
be
was
full
headed
length.
with that. Sorry. I wasn't actually asking you what the pattern wanted. I was asking what you wanted.
I think at this point you should know. I don't know what the pattern wants. Again, not because I think I'm better than anybody or that I'm just so
Absolutely.
smart I don't need to read it. I don't know. I'm usually, by the time I finally decided on a pattern, I'm ready to just start it, because any small stuff I don't worry so much about. Things that, a pair of socks or a baby hat or something like that, I don't stress so much about. But like a sweater is a huge time investment for me, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big person, especially a fingering weight sweater. Like, it is a
Mm-hmm.
huge. I started this in February. What month is it now? June.
You started at the end of February.
Still though, like,
Mm-hmm.
so
That's gonna
by
be
the time
amazing stash meters for you, though.
that's true. I have
And
no
it's
meters to add to stash this week.
it's
Like,
fine. And also, like, it's gonna be a super wearable piece that if it doesn't work for you, I'm totally gonna steal.
yeah, yeah.
I'll
So,
give you my ice skating party if it doesn't work for you.
oh, good. Then I'll get to knit it twice.
I mean, you can do something else. I
Um,
tend to read through patterns because within my brain and the way that my brain works, I know that if I don't go through and highlight all the numbers that I need to
yeah,
do, a lot of times I will get like halfway through a pattern and I'll just be constantly like, which number was I doing?
yeah.
Like, so for me, I read through and highlight numbers if nothing else.
That makes sense. I mean, it's a very smart thing to do.
I mean, I haven't had a pad. I don't have a printer at my house, and Leslie's so far away.
It's true.
I haven't had a paper, which is kind of why my Ursa stalled. I need to get back on it. Is because I don't have any paper patterns, so I just don't feel like I do have an iPad, and I will highlight numbers there. And I have used Knit Companion before. I think that's actually in Knit Companion for me. But there's something to be said for having a paper
Yeah,
pattern that your dog then eats and chews and drags across the floor.
yeah.
Not that Pearl would ever do such a thing.
I mean, I really feel like she's got a case for suing you for defamation just from the implication
I
there.
know, right? I had a stack of books to read because I always have a stack of books to read and
I
notebooks
was like,
here.
which sack?
Yeah. So there's a new stack that just came in because I'll talk about what I'm reading a little bit later. But I was on the live today and she like flat out cat swiped them. Like, but I was like, seriously? This is what we're doing now? Is there anything else that you're knitting on?
No.
Okay. I am knitting on a bounce blanket. And I just got done with the second section of lace. So this is out of Neighborhood Fiber Company, and it is in their Studio Decay. And the green is Belair, and the blue is a gradient pack called Shades of Turquoise, which looks like this, which I think will be gorgeous. Also, my friend found out on Friday that she's having a baby boy.
Oh.
So this will work out just fine. So I'm excited about that. I don't know that I have anything else to say about that. I am carrying the yarn up on the side by knitting the first stitch with both pieces of yarn, and that just keeps a nice tidy edge for me. And because it's kind of worked in, you don't get those loops on the back if you're just looping it.
Yeah.
So for baby's fingers, it kind of really holds it in place well. So that is my preferred way to carry yarn up the side, is just to knit the first stitch with 2 strands, just like right there. And then it's hard to see with this one where the camera is. And then just go from there. So that is the first thing, just a smidge worth of work on that. I'm knitting it on size 6 needles. And I have until November. So I'm actually ahead of time, like ahead of the game for once. Other things that are on my needles, I'm still working on. I didn't do any work on the socks on a plane this week. I didn't do any work on the flax light, mainly because I was reading a comment in the Stash Dash thread, and someone had knit a flax light, and then they said that they don't fit over babies' heads well in the smaller sizes. So I want to test my cast on for like stretchiness. I know it's at least 16 inches because it goes around my 16-inch needle, but I really want to take a look at those measurements. So it kind of got put off to, it literally got shoved off to the side. It's on the other side of my desk right now. But the other thing that I'm actively working on, so you and I both only have 2 things that we're actively working on, is a pair of socks out of Knit and Bro yarns. I feel like I had that tag around here. Yep. And this is dyed by an indie dyer in Pennsylvania. I got this at House of Yarn last year. And so there is this really cool speckly bit, and I have the ribbing done on both of them. Yay! This one's not. This is where I have to rip down too for the toe. And then the heel will be in this contrast yarn that came with it. So that bright ocean blue. So I'm excited about that. I spent last night, I watched the new he was on the Daily Show and he's not anymore, John Oliver episode.
Yeah.
Which was really, really interesting and very sad. And then I started watching Moving Parts, which is a documentary on Netflix about Trixie Mattel, which was also really good and kind of sad.
And Trixie Mattel is a drag queen who competed and won in a couple different seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race.
So she competed in season 7 and lost pretty early on, and then was brought back and lost again, and then was on All Stars. All Stars 3? I think All Stars 3. Yeah. So that's what I have on the needles. And then finished objects. Leslie was at my house when I finished this. She's bringing me some ice cream.
Yeah, and I didn't even get to eat any of that ice cream yet.
I know. So it happens when you leave stuff at my house. I haven't eaten your ice cream.
Thank you.
This is another elven hat. So this is, I think, my 6th baby hat. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is my 8th baby hat since April.
Stash Dash? Oh.
No, not since Stash Dash, because I had finished 2 elven hats before then. But since like May, like throughout May. So I might be taking a baby hat break for a little while. I don't know. They're just so, this is like my new sock knitting because it's super portable and it goes fast.
Yeah.
And it kind of sits. I'm usually when I knit socks, I'm at work and I'm in faculty meetings or I'm doing something out and about, working a ball game or something. And I'm knitting as I do other things, but I'm not out and about ever anymore. Like I go out for groceries once every 2 weeks, and that's about it. So, uh, and that's gonna change. I think we'll see. I'm erring on the side of caution and being safe for everyone. Anyway, so this is the smallest size. This is the newborn size elven hat. This is leftover handspun. And really, it's been really nice. All these have been, for the most part, out of leftover handspun or leftover bits and bobs. So it's been really nice to use up these bits and bobs that have been just like taking up room in the stash.
Yeah.
No, I'm not counting them towards like my stash. I'm counting them towards stash dash, but I'm trying to knit out more than what's coming in.
Yeah.
And I'm not counting them towards that. But yeah, it's a cute other little elven hat, which is a pattern by Woolly Wormhead, and it was knit on size 7s out of leftover hand spun. I feel like I'm talking a lot. You
You
don't have any.
always talk a lot.
I know. I feel
That's
like that
okay, because I have
summarizes
nothing to
our
talk about.
relationship
So,
very, very well. And then I have 3 things of spinning to talk about. So I finished the Spring Sprung BFL from Into the World. This was their April club, I believe. It's 385 yards of a fractal spun 2-ply, which gives me a little over 1,000 meters for stash dash yardage. So it was spun on my ladybug and plied on the blackbird, and it's just really, really pretty. It's purple and blue with pops of green, orange, and yellow, and it's a fingering weight. So, and it's almost dry. I wound it up and hung it outside to like let it soak for 20 minutes. Popped it a couple times, left it outside for an hour, and it was dry. So that was nice. I
yeah.
spun out the water too. I should say that too. And then things that are still on bobbins would be I did an Instagram live last Monday with Dataless Wheels and spotted you. It's not the tag that I'm looking for. It's this one. So this is their Queen of the North colorway, and it is on Targi, which is a great bouncy yarn. And so I spun that on the Blackbird. So the singles are a little bit thicker. And these Blackbird bobbins could hold a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to apply that on the Blackbird later, now that I've wound off the other. So I'm hoping for decent yardage on that. And then this I'm super excited about. I spun some Kim Dyes yarn. I got this during her Maryland Sheep and Wool update. It's the Hearthstone colorway on Falkland wool. And I divided this for a 3-ply and spun it on the Ladybug. And it's like very, very subtle. Like,
Yeah.
but it's mostly gray, but there's pops of like purple and pink and blue and
It
like,
looks very sort of earthy from here.
yeah, a green. And I spun it as a 3-ply. So like it'll even like make it more muted
Mm-hmm.
as a 3-ply. And this is going to be like a hat for me or something for me, depending on the
Yeah.
yardage. I'm super excited about this. I got 2 braids of Kim Dyes yarn fiber, and I have some of her yarn too, and it's just really, really nice stuff. So I am excited to ply that, and hopefully between the 2 of those, I'll have at least another 1,000 meters for Stash Dash. My current total is like 4,500 meters, I think.
I don't even have 1,000 yet.
But I've been spinning, and spinning kind of makes all the difference when it comes to stuff like that. I find like I'm not saying that it's a faster process because like I have very little knitting this week because I've spent a lot of time spinning.
I just
but
feel like too that you craft more per day than I do usually.
not
Um,
working.
well, still though, even when you do work, I feel like you spend more time crafting a day than I do.
No
Um,
children or husband.
my kid's 17 and my husband and I are happiest apart. So, well, that sounds like we're unhappy together. That's not the truth. We're both just very introverted in different ways. So like the time we both work from home, but the time we spend a day talking to each other actively is probably less than 15 minutes. Like it's not a lot. We make time for each other, but like 30 seconds here and there is enough. So, God, I must look like a terrible spouse, but that's just the way it is. Like
But it works for you guys, and
it
that's what's
does.
important. Like, people tend to judge other people over what works for them, but that's not necessarily the thing that works for other
Or
people.
what the media says should be a happy
Yes.
relationship.
Well, there's a whole other media
Yeah.
issue thing that we could go into.
We're not going to pull out our soapboxes today.
Not today, maybe later.
There were other
Just
things we would use them for today anyway. So
that is exactly true. More more super true than anything else. All right, what are you reading, my friends?
SuperTrue is going to be
Super
the
true.
episode title.
Yay for lack of English language.
Um, so what am I reading? So I just finished an interesting book. It's male romance, but it's science
Ooh, what is
fiction
it?
in that it's set on an alien planet. It's like sort of what you see in a lot of science fiction where like there's an interplanetary committee for all the different like species and everything. And in this particular one, there's a human who is a translator, and so his goal is to like learn the language and facilitate like the ambassador to the people who are on the
I feel like
planet.
this is Lilo and Stitch all over again.
Slightly um, not quite as upbeat, um, but it's primarily about like how language influences culture and culture influences language. It's a really
Ooh.
interesting like combination of that, but it is also explicitly male in parts. So
And it's an adult book.
it is an adult book. This is not a children's. Most books that I recommend will never be children's books. With Laura, it's a toss up because Laura is a middle school librarian, so it's important that she actually reads, these
I
YA and
mean,
youth books.
sometimes.
So that book was by R. Cooper. I probably will try some other stuff by R. Cooper because I liked the way that she wrote. And I re-listened. So I'm still listening to the Phoebe Robinson book, Everything's Trash, but It's Okay. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm adjusting my thing. Yeah, Everything's Trash, but It's Okay by Phoebe Robinson. But I I've been watching a lot of so Amazon Prime has got this watch list of different like Black Lives Matter related um, movies and television shows and
Or
things. So
American
I've
history. Yeah.
right. So I've been watching some of that, and there's so much I didn't know. So I'm trying to educate myself in a lot of that, but I have to break it up sometimes with something funny. So I re-listened to an old audiobook of mine from David Sedaris called "When You Are Engulfed in Flames." Um, and David Sedaris is I don't know, he's probably in his 40s or 50s. He's a white guy who's been in a long-term relationship with his partner Hugh. It's very funny, but not really pertinent to what's happening in the world today. It's just a good, like, if I alternate it between things that are much harder to digest,
Yeah.
it helps give my brain a break. So, um, yeah. What about you? What have you been reading or watching or?
So I've kind of already talked about what I've been watching. I've been reading a lot of short nonfiction articles, kind of related to the topic that you were just discussing. And then I finished listening to Stamped by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kennedy. I highly recommend it. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. It is the
Didn't
young
Ibram
adult.
Kennedy also write another book that I saw his name on another
Stamped
book?
from the Beginning is by him.
Uh,
The Anti-Racist Baby is by him. How to Be Anti-Racist, I believe, is by
that's
him.
yeah, or like How to Raise Anti-Racist Kids or something like that. I put it in my wish list. So okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. So Jason Reynolds took Stamped from the Beginning, which is a very large book. The audiobook, I think, is 18 hours, and remixed it. And one thing that I love about Jason Reynolds is I just love his writing style and his word choice specifically. And he uses a lot of relatable metaphors that make this a very accessible way of approaching anti-racism work and American history. So it's read by Jason Reynolds. It's only 4 hours long. It took me way longer than that to listen to because I like to go back and re-listen to specific
Hmm.
things. Or if I'm like, ooh, that word choice was really, really interesting, I hit that 15-second back button.
Yeah.
I listened to that. I purchased it on Libro FM, which is a audiobook company that supports independent booksellers. So something to think about there. I'm also reading a book called Lifting as We Climb by Yvette Diane. I think that's how you say her last name. I'm not quite certain. So I apologize if that's a mispronunciation.
But all
It,
this information is in our show notes,
yep,
which is at the knitgirls with 3Ls.com. So if you're not sure of anything or we pronounce something wrong, all this will always be in our show notes.
yep. And that is a young adult nonfiction book about Black women's involvement in the. Well, let me grab it real fast because it's sitting right here. It is Black women's battle for the ballot box. So we hear a lot about like not Susan B. Anderson. Ugh.
Anthony.
Uh, yes, Susan B. Anthony. I will say Anderson a bazillion times. He's a famous knitwear designer
Yeah.
because that's just where my brain is. And other people involved in the movements, but not a ton about the Black suffragists
Yeah.
and the impact that they had, the immense impact that they had on gaining the right to vote. So this book talks about that, which is part of American history that's kind of been shoved to the side specifically. So I'm excited to finish this. I'm not quite there yet, but I did start a new fiction book, which is From the Desk of Zoe Washington. And From the Desk of Zoe Washington is by Janae Marks. And I actually bought it back in February, but then I put it in my library and the kids had it. So I had to
Hmm.
steal it back for, actually, I put it on hold for my public library. So I'm reading the public library copy. Um, so once it comes back in, I will have a copy in my library as well. But it is about a 12-year-old girl and it takes place on her 12th birthday. And Zoe comes home. She really loves baking and making cupcakes. And she comes home and gets the mail out of the mailbox and she finds a letter from her biological father, who she really does not know at all. And her biological father has been in prison for murder on the charges of murder since she was very little. And some things that come up is this is not the first letter. He says in the letter, this is someday I hope you respond to my letters, plural.
Hmm.
So there's a secret there. But she also is she's trying to figure out how she feels about this relationship if she's going to write him back at this point. I'm only like 10% in. And also, she is having some conflict with her best friend. He said something, in her opinion, that hurt her, so they're not speaking. And she also wants to apply to audition for Food Network's like Kids Baking Challenge show. So this is all going on. So her father's conviction is weighing heavily on her. She's keeping a secret from her mom and stepfather. She has a best friend that she's currently not talking to. And she's trying to do a baking internship to be on Food Network's Kids Bake Challenge. So there's a lot going on, and it's really well written so far. It is a middle grade, which typically it would be like a 4th grade to 8th grade. Let me see if Amazon agrees with me on that. Yep, they say 3 to 7. So that would be around 8 to 12 years old. And it was just published January 14th, 2020. So, and I believe this is this author's first book, and it is an Own Voices book. So I'm very excited to get a little bit further in, and I need to get a little further in pretty quickly because my library loan expires Friday morning. So I've got to it's Tuesday now.
Yeah.
I've got some reading to do. But this is a Project Lit book. Are you familiar with Project Lit at all?
Mm.
So Project Lit was a book selection club that was started in Nashville, Tennessee, and I believe they select 20 books every year. I've linked it in the show notes, and they do 10 middle grade, 10 YA. And a lot of times they're marginalized voices, and it's a very wide assortment of books that are chosen. And so my goal for this summer is I would like to read at least 10 of, probably more, of the Project Lit books. Stamped by Jason Reynolds is also a Project Lit book. Another book that I talked about earlier, way earlier in the year, Clean Getaway by Nick Stone, was also a Project Lit book for this coming year. So I am trying to read as many of those books as I can. I actually have, I think, in my library all but 5. And the 5 that I don't have are upper YA. So I'll probably buy those for me to read. I've actually requested that my public library purchase them, which is a really easy thing to do on Overdrive. If y'all are trying to get your public library to purchase specific titles, you can just search for them, and if they don't have them, you can request that they buy them. And as a librarian, I love it when people do that because it makes my job super easy. I know what people want.
Yeah.
And I can, if I have the funds, definitely get them what they want. I'm always trying to encourage my kids to tell me what they want. If they're willing to read it, I will get it for them. One way or another, it will happen. Whether
Yeah.
it's buying it out of my pocket or not, it will happen. Um, so yeah, that is a very long-winded. I'm very long-winded today.
I
Way
mean, if the shoe fits.
any other day. But that is what I am currently reading. And Project Lit has some great selections. So if you are looking to read some new YA or middle grade, I highly recommend you look in their Twitter feed as well. How's like you've been on call all week?
I have. I think that's part of why the last 3 months have been kind of surreal, like, because I feel like I'm always on call.
Yeah.
And there are definitely people whose jobs that is to always be on call. But I intentionally, very intentionally, do not have a position where I'm constantly on call. Like, I very bluntly have told the last 3 managers that I've had that I do not want to be in a leadership position or in a position where I am the first person that you call. I don't mind being on a rotation, but I don't want to do that 24/7 as my life. Like, I did that briefly in my 20s, and I never want to do it again. It's not for me. So, like, because of that, I am also not paid at the level where someone who is on call 24/7 should be, even though
Yeah.
for the last 3 months, needs must. I get that. It's special circumstances. I'm ready for that to be over. I'm ready for them to bring some people back.
Have
Because
they discussed at all bringing people back?
not with us, but they wouldn't with us. I
Yeah.
mean, we have less than a dozen of our 40 casinos in the US open, but next week there's a bunch that are scheduled to open. So, and that's across the country. So hopefully with that, they'll bring some people back. We'll see.
I bet those people would appreciate
I would
getting paid.
love to bring them back. It's going to suck for them, though. Anybody that comes back, because we're like, you come back, and the day after that, you're going on call because we're out.
Peace out.
Yeah. Anyway. What else? Do we have anything else we need to cover? My window is not big enough. I can't see.
Just Animal Crossing. It's wedding season in Animal Crossing, which is driving me a little crazy.
Have you been doing the pictures every day?
I have done 7, and today's the 9th. I've done all but 2 days.
I've only done 2 days.
So, when you get to day 7, they throw a party, and you get to like invite what villagers you want to invite, so you can be exclusive or not exclusive. But like after you get paid with the heart crystals, like I don't want to keep buying like wedding bouquets.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a wedding arch now, so I'm gonna set up a little wedding. I already had a wedding ceremony area on my island.
Yeah, you did. It was on the beach. I remember that.
Yeah, I got a shell arch and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm gonna set up a different wedding area. Maybe up by the gravestone. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, that was creepy. I go to Laura's Animal Crossing islands, and I don't remember what I went there for. I think I just wanted to see what was in her shop and water some flowers and stuff.
Oh,
and I'm like, why do you have a random tombstone back here? She's like, just watch out. You know, she never answered the question. So
nope. Because you can make it. Actually, I thought about getting rid of it yesterday because it was my item of the day in Nook Shop, and it takes like 30 stones or something crazy to make.
okay.
And then I was like, nope. It's just, it is what it is. I do need to work some more on some areas on my island. I went to Becca's island yesterday. I haven't played today yet, so.
Yeah, I haven't either.
After this, maybe, before I have my Knit Night Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
I was on the Knit Night Zoom last week. You missed her. Yeah. It was very nice to see her. I think that's about it for us. Is there anything else that you can think of?
No, not really. Laura and I were discussing it, and probably the next time that we record, we'll actually be in the same room again. Neither of us have been exposed to other people. Like, we're both very careful when we go out. Laura is actually on the verge of over careful. Because I've gone to Laura's house for the past 2 weekends. I mean, we don't make out anymore because
we always stay 6 feet apart anyways. Like, we're never close anyways, but recording.
Laura's spinning over there and I'm sitting over here knitting, and so like anyway, I think it's okay. I think at this point it's okay. We're gonna start recording in the same room again.
Until if there is another flare up.
If there's but I think at this point it's okay. It's safe for us to do that. So
we're also not like going anyplace else.
Exactly.
Like,
and I never do.
Put in the trunk of our cars, and that's about it.
Yeah. So I think that's it. To our Patreon supporters, we sincerely thank you for supporting our show. For anyone who has spent any time in quarantine or furloughed or what have you, you know, a lot of people in times like this, most people go to some sort of entertainment, whether that's television, podcast, books, like or, you know, video games, whatever the case may be. Like, if you have the ability to support creators, even if it's not financially, you know, you should do that. You know, whether that's just retweeting something that they've tweeted or sharing a newsletter with a friend who you think might enjoy it.
There's free ways to support creators, for sure.
So
if you purchase something that we talk about, telling the person that you purchase it from that you heard it from us, always helpful.
Podcast you might watch. It's just spread the word in whatever way you can about the people that you enjoy watching.
Oh, we have a TJ Klune book signing this week.
Yes, I haven't gotten my invite yet.
I haven't either. So TJ Klune, our local independent, I almost said yarn shop, bookstore novel, is doing a virtual book signing with TJ Klune, and we are going. It's like Thursday night. And
He's
I
one
am
of our very favorite
so
mailmail authors.
excited.
Yeah.
So you guys will hear a lot about that, I think, next week.
Yeah, that's Thursday or
Thursday night. Yep. Thursday at
yeah.
3, I think.
Yeah.
So you'll be off call too, which will be good.
Yeah. I have to make sure my boss knows that I'm signing off so that I've got very important mail romance authors to talk to. So
Yeah.
anyway, we hope you guys have a lovely week and we will talk to you again next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.